Once upon a time, there was a very special girl called Isla. For a while, she didn't think she had any powers, but eventually she learned that her powers had just been hidden from her by her abusive teachers. Isla is a wildling, so she's meant to have plant powers, but once she got her powers back, she doesn't really do the nature thing. Isla went to an island called Lightlark and met two boys who fell in love with her immediately because she's so special, a cold boy and a warm boy. Both boys are jerks, but the cold boy is a much bigger jerk. Naturally, Isla liked him best, because he's not a jerk to her, and that's all that matters. Plus, they got to hold daggers to each other's throats a lot, and that's sexy. Isla is also supposedly in love with the warm boy, but mostly that's because in their world, romantic love specifically lets you use the other person's powers. So now Isla has all the powers. In Isla's world, there were some other nations, and she's supposed to be in charge of two of them. The only real function they serve is to allow her to have all their powers, like fire, flying, shadows, ice/water, and creating matter out of nothing. Isla also has the power to make/use portals, which she used to do with her star stick, but maybe she can do on her own now? Isla is half wildling and half nightshade, which means she's supposedly very special, and very conflicted all the time between her life and death powers. Mostly, she's emo about it, and found various ways to subdue her powers. Isla went on a lot of hunts for various magical items with her boys, especially with the cold boy. They mostly did that for several books. For a book or two, the cold boy was supposedly the villain, but also she's married to him in secret and he wiped her memory. Luckily, she remembered. Also, she died at least twice, and one of those times the cold boy joined her life to his and gave her a big fancy necklace that mostly works like a life alert. Isla supposedly has a time limit on her life now. Then one day, during a fight with an evil ancestor of hers who she thought was dead, using storms that Isla can summon like Pokemon, Isla went through a special portal to some other world and left her two boys behind. Hello, we are trying out my brand new mic. Let's hope it works, otherwise we will be getting the camera's audio again.
Yeah, spoilers, my new mic is not working like I hoped. I have some solutions in the works, but several of these chapters, a good chunky number, are just going to be using my video camera's audio. If that bothers you, I am sorry, but I am not an audio technician, and I have a hard time telling when audio doesn't sound right. So yeah, this is just, we get what we get and we don't throw a fit. I think you'll still enjoy what I have to say, even if the audio is not as perfect as it could be.
It is nighttime. The lighting is atrocious, but listen, I have not even started reading this thing yet, and it is the middle of January, because I have been so friggin' busy. How is my life so busy? I don't understand. But we need to get this read because Jenna Moressi's book is going to be out any minute now, so let's go. All right, should we do the bingo card first or should we look at this first? By the way, if you are new here somehow and you're picking this up with our Crowntide video, we do these things here on my channel that I call read-alongs. They do not behave like the read-alongs that you're thinking of. It's just what I call them, where I read the book and then I tell you what's happening in the book and I talk about the writing, the craft, the storytelling, the skills that may or may not be present. And we take away from that what we can learn as authors, but also we have some hee-hees, some ha-has, some silly joke times. So it's not all serious academic. It's like MST3K, but for books and educational. One of the things we do here, though, is what I call bad book bingo. But this one we have a very specialized card because we have been looking at every single Lightlark book since the first one came out. I have not been able to look away from this so bad it's good train wreck that is Alex Astor's writing. I swear she's getting worse. Most authors get better as they go. Not Alex. Oh, Nigel's here and he has opinions about that too. Don't you, buddy? He's like, I hear you're talking about Alex Astor and let me tell ya. He's been here for all of those books as well. He knows. I really do recommend that you go check out those read-alongs before you watch this one. We have our bingo card here. We're gonna go over it. All of the things that I, and with some help from my patrons, expect from this disastrous next installment in the Lightlark saga. Let's just read them off here. We have Grimm and Oro continue to have chemistry. If the boys are on the page with each other,
Are we gonna ship it still? Probably. More flashbacks, because we know that Aster loves a flashback. I hope I put more MacGuffin hunts on here too, because if there's two things that Aster loves, it's a flashback and a MacGuffin hunt. We have Isla gets more powers. We all know that Isla's gonna end up with more powers somehow. Other rulers continue to not matter. Torture used as training, that's a new one, but we realize that like anytime these people want to teach somebody, it has to turn out to be like through torture. You wanna come up? Can you do it? Here, do you want me to help you? Oh my goodness. Mummy's got a heated blanket, everything. We have retcon, because another thing we know that Alex Aster loves is retconning her books. We have the quote, "I do not die today," which is from one of the characters, and Aster, I believe, is very proud of this line because it featured heavily in the Grimm and Oro duology and Oro's portion of it. Then I have several other words that she loves to use that we may see. There are probably more that I'm forgetting. We have puddle, marrow, and legion. If we see those three words, we get to cross off this one. Isla, guilty for no reason. So Isla will be randomly guilty about something. Something that she didn't do, but she for some reason blames herself for. Starstick, not described. Yes, we saw a little bit of Starstick description for the first time ever in the Grimm and Oro duology. Go watch those videos. Give them some love. They need more attention, quite frankly, for the misery that I put myself through doing those. But we learned for the first time ever that the Starstick was silver, but I bet that's all we're gonna get, and we're just gonna go back to not describing it. We have single shoulder shrug and or lips parting. I'm doubling up some of these squares at this point. Wild tone switches. We know that Alex Aster loves a tone switch. In the middle square, we have awkward writing, because we know we're gonna get awkward writing, guaranteed. Grimm shreds Isla's clothes, specifically shreds them. Queen Cleo slander. This is a Queen Cleo household here. We stan Cleo. I refuse to let Aster convince me she's just a mindless bully character. No women allies for Isla. If there is a female ally for Isla, they will turn out to betray her or die or something else like that. Even more prophecies. I am betting big money that there's going to be even more prophecies in this book. Aster loves a prophecy. Isla is always right. Isla conceals or dampens her powers. She loves to do that. Isla completely abandons her people. She loves to do that too. Surroundings barely described. Aster never describes a place, and when she does, it's always hella awkward. Huge pacing problems. Everyone talks about Isla. Aster is clearly checked out. This is when we can just tell that the author just stopped caring several books ago. I think we're going to get this one pretty easily. And finally, new MacGuffin, which I think qualifies if they go on a MacGuffin hunt, we will get new MacGuffin. So I hemmed and hawed long over this bingo card. I'm sure I still left stuff off that you're screaming at your screen. Now let's have a look at this. This is a pretty plain and simple little book. It's not very long. How many pages is it? It doesn't look that long. Although the text is a lot smaller. Okay. Usually the text is bigger in these books. 443 pages. I think that is shorter. Usually they're around 500, but the text is smaller. Let's have a looky look here. It is no sprayed edges or anything. I didn't get any special edition or anything like that. I just got the regular one. Let's look at the cover. I hate this cover. This cover is so lazy and ugly, and her covers I feel like have been going downhill since the first one. I feel like the publisher is cutting corners with the cover and not putting any effort into it. Like, what is happening? It feels AI generated, I'll be honest with you. It does. And I don't say that lightly. I don't like to accuse things of being AI generated, but look at it. If you look closely, there's like a wave of sand and a wave of water in like an hourglass. Hopefully we find out what's up with that. There's nothing really on the back except for weird tentacle swirls that are kind of like water, but they look muddy. Muddy water tentacles. Inside of it, we're gonna take the dust cover off because I don't like reading with the dust cover anyway. Inside, very plain cover. I mean, it is pretty, but like the swirlies look even more just like, what is that? Is it a worm? What is it? You know, like without the detail of it looking vaguely like muddy water, they look like nothing. The only thing is that the name is attractive in this bronze color on the cover. There's nothing else. Very, very plain Jane. We go to the map, which is, I believe, the same fucking map that we've had every single time, which has become useless, by the way, because Isla has started to go to places that are not on the map, including Nightshade, which is just has an arrow pointing off the map towards Nightshade. So we don't even have a map of Nightshade, and Isla has spent entire books on Nightshade. There's no map. We don't know where the Winter Palace is. We don't know where the Cozy Christmas Village is. We don't know where Cretan's Crag is because we can't be arsed to get a new map. It's the same map from book 1, and we have moved so far beyond book 1. Why haven't we drawn a new map? Also not on here, Isla's father's island that he discovered and named Island. So yeah, this map is now useless to us this far into the book, but we're gonna continue to have it, I guess. Should I already mark off that the author has checked out? The dedication is, for you. You are strong. Never forget. I feel so touched. Right. It looks like we are starting out with Oro's point of view though. So that's really exciting. So we're already not diving straight into Isla's point of view because guessing it's gonna be a short chapter because last book Isla like poofed out of existence into a wormhole or something. So we got the boys, and you can betcha they're gonna have chemistry, so that's exciting. But let's read the blurb first, okay? Before we dive straight into chapter 1, let's read the blurb. Some worlds deserve to be destroyed. Oh yeah, I agree. All of Lightlark, the whole universe, very silly, probably shouldn't exist. Isla Crown has charted a new destiny and leapt into the unknown. Into the unknown! Into the unknown, determined to defeat her insidious ancestor Lark, no matter the cost. But Skyshade is nothing like she anticipated. Did she anticipate something? I never saw her anticipating. I would love to know what she anticipated when she jumped through the wormhole. And she'll have to use all of her skills just to survive, let alone end Lark for good. Meanwhile, Grimm and Oro would sooner set fire to their own kingdoms than leave Isla stranded on a path towards certain death.
Certain death!
How do they know she's on a path towards certain death? I guess they just assume because Isla has died at least 2 times over the course of these books. This girl dies as a hobby. She dies recreationally. But getting her back will involve forging an alliance. Or a romance? If they can find a way to forgive their long history of betrayals. Long history of betrayals. Are you kidding me? It was a misunderstanding that got blown way out of proportion. And would have been solved if they had talked to each other for 10 minutes. History of betrayals, fuck off. You could get away with that if we hadn't read the Grimm and Oro novellas, but we have. The key to Isla's return and the fate of the realms lies close to her heart, but in the face of her most powerful enemy yet, will Isla be able to reconcile her past in order to carve a future of her own making? What part of her past are we reconciling at this point, is what I want to know. Is it the neglecting of her people for 3 books? All right, let's get this bad boy started because otherwise I'm just going to keep putting it off forever. We are with Oro. That's exciting. Let's go. Oh no, it starts out, Oro Ray never thought he would see Grim Malvir, demon ruler of Nightshade, cry. Oh, Grim. He's so sad, y'all. He's so sad. His wife, he has left him, and now he's just so sad. Again, because we read the novellas, we know that Grim has cornered the market on sadness. He's sadder than anyone who's ever been sad. But let's see here. What's going to happen now? Maybe if Oro gives him a nice smooch, maybe that'll help. Oh, Oro, honey, sweet angel baby, no. Oro's like, Isla must have planned this. She must have a cunning plan that she just didn't tell us about. I'm like, oh. How do you still believe that this girl is clever, you poor, poor man? By the way, I have a theory that's probably not going to come to fruition, that the world that Lark and Cronin and all those people came from is our world, and so Isla's just going to stumble out into Manhattan or wherever Alex Astor lives. I forget where she lives, one of them cities probably. There was, by the way, a giant battle happening, but I'm going to assume that all of the enemy just went back to being corpses when Lark was no longer there to animate them. I'm gonna have to assume that's what happened.
Also, there were a whole bunch of Drekks in the fight, and Isla took the Drek-controlling sword through the portal with her, so presumably there'd just be Drekks everywhere wrecking shit, but I guess maybe they also just disappeared when Isla left? I don't know.
Oh my god, these boys are so useless. I love it. I love how just like in her thrall they are. They sat in miserable silence, waiting as if Isla could come back. They're like a dog that someone left home, and they're just sitting in front of the door. They wait a couple of hours. Grim punches Oro. Sure, might as well do that. Now they're just punching each other. They're just beating each other. Are they 15-year-old boys? Their hot girlfriend has disappeared. And first they sit around cluelessly, like, oh, what do we do? Maybe she'll come back if we just wait long enough. And now they've started to beat each other up. These are the actions of children. Now, however, they are rolling on the ground on top of each other, which, you know, our ship is shipping.
All right, gay.
There's a lot of lunging at each other going on. Every time they, like, separate, they lunge again. Ooh, Grimm is holding a blade to Oro's throat. Oh, okay, we have to check it off already. I don't have a pen, and Nigel's sitting on me, and I can't move. No! Okay, a pencil. I found a pencil. A pencil is here. Okay, we have to check off Grimm and Oro have chemistry already, because the blade to the throat is universally accepted to be sexy now. So that's all there is. Grimm asks, while he holds a blade to Oro's throat, "Do you love her?" Which we all know is Grimm trying to ascertain if he still has a chance with Oro. Don't let this book tell you otherwise. Apparently they beat each other up the required amount that guys have to beat each other up when they're feeling emotions, because men can't feel any emotions except anger. Or if they do, they have to deal with it by punching. Once again, glad to know these men have not emotionally matured between books. So he's like, cool, you love her, that means that you'll fight to get her back, so we're gonna get her back. And then they just stop fighting. Great. Glad that we had that whole fight in between there. I don't know what that was for, to prove that these guys are manly? I have no idea. A lot of hesitating and eyes narrowing in this little section. One of the things that I'm really good at as your developmental editor / I'm a little bit of a line editor. I will go, I'm not gonna catch your spelling and grammar mistakes necessarily, but I am gonna catch things like awkward sentences or overuse of the same word over and over again, which is a really common thing that happens to all of us, but a lot of times you can't see it in your own work and you need someone else to point it out for you, and that's what I'm here for. If I was editing this for a client, I would be highlighting every time that I notice these words being used so that they can more easily visually see how close these words are together in this section. Now this has just evolved into how much do we love Isla? We love her so much. We would do anything for her. For example, Oro thinks, she doesn't have to be mine. She might never be mine, but the mere fact that she lives proves perfection exists. It proves this world has wonders in it yet. Sir, this is just a girl. This is just some chick. Please calm down. So yeah, they vow to find Isla together because they love her so much and she's just so wonderful. And then we're gonna go on into Grimm's point of view. So I'll probably at least read that chapter before I go do something else. All right, Nigel, I do have to shut things off real quick. You know, Crowntide just sounds like an expensive detergent. It's like you can just get regular Tide or you can get Crowntide. We're with Grimm now. Oh boy, great, love that for us. We all know that Grimm has led a miserable life filled with agony upon agony, but he says he's never known pain like this because Isla is gone.
You play the ghost of a dream of a memory of a cyborg warrior trying to find his dead wife inside a poem.
I want to know how this affects, because we know that Isla and Grimm are tied together. He saved her life one of the times that she died by linking themselves together. She's tied to his life force in some way, which put a time limit on her, but we don't know how. But now she's in a fucking other dimension. Oh, good. If you did not watch the novellas, one of the things that we find out that Aster really loves to do is write snappy romantic lines that will look amazing in a reel or a TikTok about the book. She would honestly much rather do that than write the actual book. And we're back in it. She was a breath of spring in the middle of winter. She was a guiding star in the dark sky, the axis on which his world turned. Sir, it is not healthy for your entire life to revolve around one person. Please get therapy. Okay, he is thinking about it. He finally realizes that, if she was dead, wouldn't I be dead? But he decides since he's alive, she must be alive so they can continue whatever plan they're gonna come up with. I'm sure it's gonna be dumb. Is Isla the new MacGuffin? Is most of this book gonna be a MacGuffin hunt for Isla? Should this book actually be named Finding Isla? Here's another one. Oh, I bet you this one's on the marketing. I will rip down the constellations themselves to see you again. So it's a little while, where we are now in the story, it's a little while since the boys had their big fight in the maze, and Oro has healed himself, but Grimm has not, because we all know that Grimm has to be having maximum misery at all times.
Agony beyond power of speech.
Oro's friends are here. Aster really likes the friends that she invented for Oro, which is like almost not a bad thing because at least there's some characters that aren't Isla and aren't completely 100% focused on Isla 24/7. Astria is also here. Grimm fights the urge to turn Oro to ash, but how would he do that? He doesn't have fire powers. Is he going to use shadows to turn Oro into ash? Boy, this chair is long-lived. It says the redhead carelessly leaned back in the chair that was easily twice her age. She's over 500 years old. This chair is twice her age. She's sitting in a 1,000-year-old chair. Boy, they really build things to last in this world. Holy balls. It's probably made out of Shade Maid. Everything's made out of Shade Maid now. The Shade Maid economy is booming. For some reason, Zed thinks that Grimm has a deeper bond to Isla than we thought. He says, she's a guiding star to the other world then. Your bond is a map to her. Where are you getting this info from, Zed? Grimm doesn't mention that he already tried to, like, portal to wherever Isla is, and it didn't work. Oro says that the thing to do is going to be amplifying Grimm's powers. So if they can amp up his portaling abilities, they'll be able to portal to another dimension. Oro's like, is there a relic that could help with this? And I'm like, is there going to be a MacGuffin hunt? Oh, of course there is. Of course there is, everyone. Well, there is a stone more powerful than anything else in this world, including the heart of Lightlark, says Grimm. Now, it's probably the marriage stone, and Isla probably has it with her, would be my guess, but maybe there's another one? The Infinite on Atlas Island. When I said that Atlas sounded a lot like Atlantis, a lot of people pointed out to me in the comments that, like, well, what about Atlas, who held up the world? And I'm like, yeah, I know he was a thing. I was really thinking more about islands. And knowing Aster's extremely lazy naming tendencies, I still think she probably went, what should I name this island? I've already named one island. So, Atlantis? No, Atlas. Just like when she needed a name for Carnival, she probably went Caraval, which is already a popular book. And then she's like, Caraval, Carnival, Caramel. I fully believe that's how she names these things. Except for her books where I think she just smooshes two nouns together and goes from there. So at some point he went and got it and gave it to Isla.
Put the diamond in the coat.
And I put the coat on her!
Oh my god. See, Aster's just fully in on it. His wife was certainly the strongest person in their history, possibly in the universe. I'm gonna throw up in my mouth. Maybe just projectile vomit about how much I hate that. I don't like uber powerful characters to begin with. And then you make one that is so uber powerful that everybody in the entire book agrees that she's basically God. And we're supposed to want to keep reading about her? Why would I? She's God. And not in an interesting or intriguing way. She's just better than everyone else. And they have to talk about how much she's better than them all the time. Probably so she doesn't smite them. There's having an overpowered MC or having a main character who keeps gaining like new abilities and power creeping and getting stronger as the plot goes on. And then there's whatever the fuck is happening in the Lightlark books. Grimm keeps thinking of her as his wife. He's not calling her Isla, he's just his wife. Grimm's just a wife guy, but like really sad. But Zed, upon hearing this new information that Isla, the most powerful person in their universe, has taken the most powerful item in their universe and left, he says, we are so fucked. So, yeah. And then we're back with Grimm's point of view. I'm very curious if it's just gonna be the boys. Oh, we finally get Isla, so we will finally find out what the heck happened to her. But I'm probably gonna stop because I want to film a different video tonight real quick. While I still have some energy, if I still have some energy. But I honestly, can we like cross off anything else in the first 2 chapters? I mean, I think we could give it Everyone Talks About Isla, but I think we can wait for more. I think we can get even more talking about Isla. Yeah, I don't think I have on there like Isla is actually God, but it should probably also be on there. Maybe that one's such a given it doesn't even need to be on the bingo card. Anyway, I'll see you for the next chapter when I see you. Probably tomorrow. It is once again nighttime. It is the next night. I was going to try to film in daytime, and then there wasn't enough daytime, because it's still January, so mostly nighttime. January in Wisconsin do be like that. So we have Grimm's point of view again, and then we finally get Isla's. So I'm definitely going to read Grimm's chapter, and we'll see about reading Isla's. We'll see how that goes. I'm really curious. He's thinking about Isla because of course he is. He's just not sleeping because he's vowed not to sleep until he finds her. But he's just thinking about her, and he's thinking about getting her marriage necklace. But he mentions that he's like the first in his line to ever get married. And I'm like, well, then why did he have such a stereotypical like wedding? Why did he have a white American person's wedding? Why were those his traditions? Obviously, I know that Alex Astor's not going to culture build, but I'm asking for us so that we, going forward, can think about things like that in our own writing. Why would somebody whose culture does not have weddings, or at least not for the royals, why would he default to that? So we are now finally getting a flashback, I think, to how Grimm got the marriage necklace, even though in like 2 books, it's kind of an important artifact. And we were just supposed to wave off that he picked it up off page somewhere. And he still picked it up off page somewhere. He got an important MacGuffin item at some point, even though we totally could have watched him do it. Like, why isn't this scene in the novella? This is the sort of thing that definitely belonged in the novella. Wow, okay, this is convenient. He had to approach it by sea, of course. The stone was on an island somewhere. Where? Shut up. But he portaled a whole boat along with him, so he got as close as he could with an entire boat. And then he just rode the rest of the way. So he can teleport with, like, I mean, I think Isla teleported with the dragon at one point. So, like, they can teleport with very large, useful items. So the first thing he sees is, like, this very, very tall mountain, I guess, made of spiky rocks, similar to the spiky rock cliff by the blacksmith. But when he gets closer to it, it like shuts off all of his senses. So he can't see, he can't hear, presumably he can't smell. He can feel touch, but not very well. It's like muted, apparently. Well, that was an easy obstacle to clear. So he hears a voice in his head that's like, take one more step and you're in danger. It doesn't even tell him that you will die. It's just like, super dangerous, don't do it. And he takes another step and then all of his senses come back. So that obstacle was pretty easy to clear. Thank God too, because we were dangerously close to having an interesting or cool plot point. Because wouldn't it have been pretty neat if he'd had to figure out this whole thing with only his sense of touch? So now that he can see and hear and smell and everything again, he knows he's got to climb this very sharp mountain. So he does. He's already cutting himself. Luckily though, of course, Grimm has suffered more than anyone has ever suffered. So like the pain of ripping up his hands and feet to climb this mountain is just, that's just another Tuesday to him. I mean, this is the man who's so durable that he can be shot through the torso by, I believe it was 12 arrows and be fine the next day. So, nope, we have Legion. I'm gonna cross that off. He has a hallucination in his climb, crossing off Legion. We still need to get Marrow and Puddle to get the square, but he starts to hallucinate that he's on a battlefield and there's a Legion. Says the Legion before him was perfectly positioned. We have no idea what that means. Apparently it's an enemy's perfectly positioned Legion. Does that mean that they're perfectly positioned for him to kill them easily with shadows? Is that what we were going for? Unclear, but he does. He kills them with shadows. So Grimm kills all of the soldiers, even saying on the page that he views them as like faceless minions. But then one of them, the last one, begs for mercy. He says he has a wife and child. But Grimm still kills him. But it's all like a metaphor, you see. It's very clever, this hallucination. It's just about how he spent so many years just blindly fighting without emotion and not caring about people. And we all know that later, he started to care about people again, right? Right? Well, he certainly started to care about Isla. But that was a lesson he needed to learn, that being a senseless, violent killer was bad, actually. And then he's back to climbing. It's like the regret prison in Dragon Age Veilguard. Only the coolest people will get that reference. Then later he looks up and he sees a tunnel of memories. What is a tunnel of memories? Okay, he's still doing the regret prison thing because like everybody he's ever killed, that is so many people. It is so many people is like surrounding him in the tunnel of memories. Now, of course, I'm certain we all know what it is that pushes him through this really challenging time where he's seeing all of the people that he killed. I don't need to tell you, but I will. He thinks about Isla and how much he loves being married to her, because this is right after they got married. He decided to give her this necklace right after they got married for the first time. He thinks about how much he loves her and how much he's happy to be married to her and how much he needs to come home to her. And so Thank God. Would hate for him to have any other thoughts. Isla, his wife, his world, his universe. Grimm, that's not healthy. Grimm, sweetie, that's not healthy. You should not think of one person as your whole universe. That's not healthy, sweetheart. I'm glad he's decided he doesn't have to explore any of his past actions because he has Isla now. Isla's love was like a shield, protecting him from his worst self. As long as he's got Isla, he doesn't have to ever think about and deal with and process all of the horrible things that he's done. Because honey, Grimm, sweet baby boy, even if you are having a really horrible mental health time, that doesn't mean you get to make it everyone else's problem. That doesn't mean you get to treat other people horribly. So I'm afraid that you don't get a pass just because you were, abused by your father and stuff like that, and you were having a bad mental health time when you were killing all those people. I'm afraid that you still did kill all those people, though. Those actions still count, even if you were having a bad mental health time. But he has another hallucination now that he's worked through all of the deaths of everyone that he killed thanks to Isla. He's now faced with a hallucination about his sister, Layla, who I believe we only knew about thanks to the novellas. So if you didn't read the novellas, this is a surprise, because I don't think we ever heard about his sister, Layla, until now in the main books. Okay, I call bullshit. So he's having a back and forth with his dead sister, and she's guilting him for killing her or whatever, but she says, "You promised yourself that my death would not be for nothing, that you would follow your duty to protect our people." And then Grimm thinks it was true. It was the only way he could keep going past his hatred for his father. Except for it wasn't true. He hasn't been doing everything for the best interest of his people. I think in only one of the books that we have so far has he actually done anything nice for his people. And we didn't know enough about him then. So we could be like, oh, okay, maybe he actually is a good ruler. He does seem to be doing things. But now that we've read his novella, we know that actually he's just an awful person. And the only time that he ever helped his people was when it offered him some kind of advantage. He's having a real meltdown over the death of his sister, which would mean a lot more to people who have read the novella, but you cannot assume that people will have read the novella. So we're just watching Grimm freak out over having killed a sister we didn't even know existed until now. Got puddled. We got puddled. All we need is marrow. I bet you we get marrow in Isla's section. But he overcomes his sister hallucination and he keeps going. He is very rattled by the experience with his hallucinated sister, but he thinks about Isla again. Then a giant wind tries to knock him off the side of the mountain. That doesn't work. He just clings on really hard. Then he starts to get Isla's hallucination memories, because their souls are linked, you recall. But of course he only sees her bad memories, so mostly it's just the time when she killed that entire village. And then the voice that's talking to him is like, "But how can you love her? She's a monster." And he's like, "I love her, even when she is being monstrous." And it's like, she's done one thing, aside from just ignore. She's been negligent. There's a lot of negligence from Isla. But as far as bad things go, there's not a whole lot. We have a whole paragraph, which is just, again, more of those lines. You know, those lines that Alex Astor likes to write, just more of those. Then the voice asks, "What if she betrayed you? What if she killed you?" And he says, "Then I would thank her for giving me any of her time at all." Oh my God. Get some self-respect, man. It says that after he makes it through this climb, after he pushes through everything, he feels like a small critical part of himself rip away. But I have a strong feeling that that's not actually going to turn out to be anything important. It just is going to make this scene feel like it's more intense than it actually is. Oh, I think we have a typo. We have our first typo. Finally, he looked up. Dark hair plastered to his face in sweat. I think we mean with sweat. Further proof that I feel like these books were edited probably by an AI who did not catch those things. Or not even a generative AI, just a normal spell checker AI who's like, yep, that's a correct word. But he reaches not the top of the mountain, but a cave where the infinite stone is hanging out. The infinity stone, if you will. So when he takes it, he can sense that it's the most powerful item in the universe. And he's going to give it to his girlfriend, and she's going to use it like a life alert necklace. Finally, we are back with Isla. We have finished that chapter. Was it there? Yeah, the boob vines are still here, by the way. I didn't comment on it before. I should have put it on the bingo card. The vines at the top of all of the chapters, the vines that look like boobs, are still here. How long is the Isla chapter? Oh, very short. Okay. Well, I guess we'll be reading that. It's like a page long. Great. All right, we're back for Isla's chapter, and then I think I'm going to do something else because it's dark and that makes me tired. Isla's chapter is 2 pages long. That is an odd choice for a first line. Isla Crown felt the force of this world in her teeth. All right, we will not expound. Her teeth specifically. It doesn't say anything else. It just cuts then to the moment that she and Lark went through the portal. You know, like it just cuts to that. Okay, I mean, I guess it's better than in her marrow, which is what I was expecting. So she hits the ground on the other side of the portal, and it says only her father's armor made of unmatched metal and fashioned by the blacksmith. Good that we remember that she's wearing the armor. Good that we're being reminded, because I did not remember that. But like unmatched metal, it's called shade made, right? The armor's made of shade made? I was for sure. So she flounders around for a bit, just kind of like choking and gagging and you know, doing all the stereotypical things that people do when they go through portals in fiction sometimes, or like when they come out of stasis, you know, those things. But then she finally opens her eyes and looks at the sky, and it's like this paint, like running paint colors happening in the sky. Then it says, a band of silver threaded through it, sparkling like melted down stars. I think you could just say melted stars, we would understand. This world was not the one she had imagined. Again, what did she imagine? If you're gonna tell us that something is not the way a character expected it, it's really helpful for us to know what they expected. So everywhere she looks is just flat and ash. That's all she sees is ash and the fun colors of the sky. But it says it was like she had landed in the middle of a shredded nighttime sky. And I'm like, I'm not sure I know what that means. Now, Isla was wearing her armor when she went through the portal, but Lark was apparently not wearing armor, or at least not wearing shade-made armor, because Lark got really like beaten up in the journey. Apparently, going through that portal, not good for your health. So she got shredded, like cut to ribbons, but she's healing, she's self-healing. We all know that she has a healing factor, but it's not happening as fast as on Light Lark, I guess. That's what we're told. So Isla's like, perfect, an opportunity to kill Lark because she seems weaker here, so I'll just go stab her. But when Isla tries, she like gets up and then collapses, and it says, it was like a vice upon her bones.
Excuse me, what?
A second gravity, a weight on her mind and energy. I mean, that part makes a little bit more sense, but a vice upon her bones? First of all, they're in the same sentence, so a vice upon her bones, a second gravity. How is gravity like a vice on your bones? She reaches for her powers and of course finds that they're not really there, so I think we might be able to give this, Isla conceals or dampens her powers. I will also allow for other things to conceal or dampen her powers, but we all know in every one of these stories, Isla's powers have to be like lessened in some way because the plot won't work if she just has every power. I didn't know this was a goal of hers. She tries her life alert necklace, that doesn't work, but then she's thinking about like how she's supposed to do anything without her abilities. It says, how was she going to bring back everyone she had killed? That was a goal? She was going here to bring back everyone that she had killed? She also mentions here that Isla still has that time limit. She only has until the end of winter, which is days away apparently. Although I don't know, like Lightlark days or days here? Like how many days have passed in the Lightlark universe? I don't know. Also, we were told that the stuff that they're on, the ground is made of ash. But then she also calls it sand? So is it ash or is it sand? Because we were told that it was all ash as far as the eye could see. But now the sand beneath them began to shift, raising her bare skin as it turned into ropes and chains. Which her, first of all, there are two she-her characters in this scene, and also raising her skin, like R-A-Z-I-N-G. I've never heard raising used to refer to injuring a person before. Is that a thing that I just don't know about? That's like, is that a turn of phrase that I just don't use? I don't know, but that's the end of the chapter. Her skin is being raised, and the ash/sand is turning. Ooh, Cleo's in the next chapter. Ash/sand is turning into chains, I guess. So that's fun, but I'm gonna stop here because I want to go play video games. Hello, welcome to a very cold day here. I have tea in my Garris mug, the laundry is going. Adam has been away and he's heading back, so probably he will be arriving while I'm trying to record. That should be nice for us. We are back with Oro, chapter 5. We spent a little bit of time with Isla. At least we found out what happened to her, basically. Like, we knew she was alive. There's no way that she would ever be dead. But now we have kind of an idea of where she's gone. So, like, I don't hate it. As a chapter, even though it was really short. And some of the stuff was deeply confusing, but it was nice to like pop in and be like, hey, this is where she is, before we pop back with the boys in their desperate search to find the most amazing girl in the world and rescue her. Also, I would like to point out that for somebody who has like all the powers and is on the page called by multiple characters the strongest person in their world, how often she is damseled is stunning. Also, it just keeps hitting me and hitting me and hitting me how much Isla is like a wish fulfillment self-insert character for the author, like 100%. I was never in any doubt of that. And in this story, we just keep hearing about how the loss of this woman has both of these super sexy men absolutely bereft. And I'm just like, boy, the wish fulfillment author insert just keeps rolling in and rolling in. Apparently, both Lynx and the dragon are inconsolable at the loss of Isla as well. Lynx, I can understand, they were bonded, but I guess the dragon is just also extremely attached. He mentions that a lot of his people have been turned into undead soldiers by Lark through the process of killing them and then raising them from the dead. Like, it's not very streamlined, her process. But I'm sure that if a war is to start up again, he will miraculously have an endless supply of soldiers. But Enya and company are of course trying to convince Oro that, you know, he is in fact the ruler of these people, at least Lightlark, but kind of everywhere else as well, because he's like the High King. And maybe he should worry about that, since a lot of people were harmed by the zombie invasion. But he's like, no, we need to focus, okay? We need to, priorities here, Isla is number one. Oh my god, they cannot stop glazing her, even when they're saying that maybe she's a problem. So Zed, being the voice of reason, is like, maybe we're better off without her, actually. But even while he's saying, hey, maybe we should leave her gone, he says, Isla Crown is the most powerful person in our histories, possibly in the entire universe. Fuck off. Oh my god, I hate it. I hate it so much. Like, I knew that was gonna happen. We were gonna get to this point because every single book, Isla's power just keeps amping up and amping up. The power creep is insane with this character, but now the other characters are fully just saying, yeah, she's the most powerful person in the universe. And they're saying that in the same sentence as like, maybe we don't want her back. Like, they're saying the people who are not pro Isla all the way down are still being like, but she is the most powerful person in the universe, so. But Zed is like, maybe she's happy where she is. Maybe she wants to stay gone because, you know, she was miserable here. She had all that guilt about killing people. Like, maybe wherever she is, she's happy. It's sort of like, you know, when a pet goes missing and your parents get to that point where they think they're probably not going to be able to find it. You know, they've tried everything and they can't find it and it's probably dead. So they're like, hey, he's happy where he is. He probably found a new lovely home. That's what I'm getting from Zed. Yeah, I'm sure a nice family found her and she's happy where she is now. Sure, okay, you could just tell us this. We didn't see any of it from Isla's point of view, but she had endless wonder, endless hope. She always saw the light where most would see darkness. Are you kidding me? That she was the most, like, depressed, sad emo girl through, like, all of the books. And you're like, she's such a ray of sunshine. Like, Oro is pretending that she's a manic pixie dream girl, even though she hasn't done anything. Oh my god, Oro's just thinking about how amazing she is, of course. She was a world maker, just like Lark. She could restore the island to what it had once been. So we are just basically saying that Isla is God now. Do I have everyone praises? Everyone talks about Isla. I should have had everyone praises the MC, but I'll take everyone talks about Isla, because it's the same thing. Oro, his friends are finally convinced that they need Isla back because she's the most powerful person in the universe and she's wearing the most powerful relic in the universe, so they want her back. But then Oro's like, oh yeah, and wherever she is, she's stuck with Cronin, and what if he hurts her? And he grips his chair arms so hard that the wood breaks. That's how upset he is. Okay, I'm not opposed to this, but I don't understand why. So Grim shows up and Grim's like, okay, did you guys come up with a plan for us to go save Isla? And Oro's like, no, not really. We mostly just talked about how amazing Isla is. But he says that they need to have help from someone who wanted her to succeed, whatever that means. We need to talk to Cleo, Oro said. So again, not opposed to talking to Cleo. We love Cleo here. This is a Cleo household. But why? The moonling, it turned out, wasn't hard to find. It makes it sound like we expected her to be hard to find. They find her in her captain's cabin in her navy. That's like one of the 2 places that I would have looked first. I would have looked in her castle and I would have looked on her ships. So yeah, I was not expecting her to be hard to find. Apparently Cleo's not wearing her memory necklace for her child, which I forgot was a thing. Did we know that was a thing? If it was mentioned, it was like 1 sentence offhandedly, and apparently we were supposed to remember it, because now Oro notices that she's not wearing it. Cleo shrugs with one shoulder. Somebody shrug one shoulder. I think I have that on here. Single shoulder shrug. I'm not gonna give it that square unless we also get lips parting. I think we probably will. So, okay, this is where we finally find out why Oro thinks she's gonna help. Cleo wants Isla to help get her son back. Cleo fully believes that her son can be gotten in this other dimension where Isla went to. Do we think that the other dimension is the afterlife? Is that what's going on? So Cleo has a vested interest in Isla coming back and bringing her son with her. We have to hit home Cleo's one personality trait, and that is mom. That's all she has, and that's all she needs to have. Mom. Oro's like, even though I don't like Cleo, because she was a dick to me for no good reason. That's what I'm saying that. That's not on the page. He seems to not be questioning why she was a dick to him. He's like, but she's a mom who lost her kid, and therefore I feel sympathetic towards her and totally understand where she's coming from. Grim starts talking and it says, his voice was scraped from the night itself. Sure. Cleo's being very chill, even though they're threatening her with bodily harm like usual, and it said, Oro was momentarily taken back to the time when she was his merciless moonling instructor, always looking at him like he was inadequate. She barely looked at him. We saw those scenes. She just decided offhandedly that she hated his guts, and then she's like, here's a bunch of ways that you can probably die. Go do those things. That's it. It's not like she was his instructor instructing him and looking at him like he was inadequate. She just said, go out and freeze to death, and that's pretty much it. That was the extent of it. But she says nothing scares her because, like, her life isn't worth living without her son. She just wants her son back. And I'm like, good, great. I'm glad that everybody here just has one motivation. She wants her son back. They want Isla back. Nobody else has anything else going on. But they're like, hey, Cleo, we know you got a second prophecy way back when from the Oracle. And of course, it's like the most Isla thing ever. She said someone born of life and death would decide the fate of this world, that this person would be marked by halves, half curse, half cure, half day, half darkness.
And the prophecy states that you are the most important, most talented, most interesting, and most extraordinary person in the universe.
This is such a, like, 15-year-old Alex Astor concept of like, my MC is the most important, and also she's half light and half darkness, and also she's going to save the world, and there's a prophecy about it. And it's just like, there's only so much tween-age goofiness that I can handle. Of course, Oro thinks about how painful it must be for Isla to be like split in half. Not like how amazing it must be to have all the powers ever and be able to change the world. Because we have to feel sorry for our extreme Mary Sue. That's important. It's so hard being so amazing, you guys. It's really tough, okay? I'm sorry, but why do I feel like, just a little bit, like this is Alex Astor being like, it's really hard being rich and popular. You guys wouldn't understand how challenging that is. Like, a little bit in my head. So Cleo's just spilling. Apparently there was so much prophecy that Cleo has just been sitting on this entire time because, of course, because Alex Astor hadn't come up with it until now. But also there's supposed to be a giant war of the world or something. War of the worlds. War between worlds, but I'm calling it War of the Worlds. Maybe there'll be aliens.
This is not a war. This is an extermination.
Probably because we've officially run out of bad guys that can exist in the Lightlark universe, because the Lightlark universe is actually just a bunch of islands, and the only potential bad guy is Grim and then Lark. So I think we've run out, like, Astor's like, okay, I've run out of villains that can come from this world, so we have to have villains come from the other world now. This is so stupid. This is so dumb. This is so dumb. The war has a name. You know, think of names of wars. World War I, World War II, the Civil War, the Korean War. You know, what are the names of wars? Can you guess the name of the war that she heard about in this prophecy? I bet if you think about it for a few minutes, you can. The war is called Crowntide.
You serious?
Fuck you, Alex Astor. She is toying with us now, I am convinced. We are being trolled. She is laughing all the way to the bank as she writes whatever stupid bullshit she feels like. And I am officially mad about it. Like, I was mad this whole time, but I'm mad again. I'm mad afresh as we read Crowntide. What? Every single time I think Alex Astor has come up with the dumbest thing, she comes up with a new, dumber thing.
Well, my days of not taking you seriously are certainly coming to a middle.
This is embarrassing to the tween-aged girls who are coming up with their super uber powerful OCs and inventing worlds that they can save. This is now giving them a bad name. Ooh, she used a word besides puddling. Cleo's white dress pools around her feet instead of puddles around her feet. I'm impressed. So we find out that Oro's dad and his, like, expansionist empire was really because he was trying to find another portal. It's all about portals with these people.
Thanks to the Aperture Science handheld portal device, the impossible is easy.
About Oro's dad, his father's actions were kept secret to avoid judgment from his people. Sending warriors away from their own shores would not have been a popular decision, especially when there was a war with Nightshade. Warriors are his people. So how did he keep that a secret? Did he just tell the families of everyone that he sent away to go exploring that those people died? Did none of them ever come back and say, yeah, the king sent us off on an exploratory mission? How the fuck would that have worked? I still think that Astor just believes that, like, the peasants, the people who live in a country, are literally just disposable, faceless NPCs that never speak to each other or have lives of their own or have anything else going on. They just poof into existence when they're needed and then die in the war so that the leaders can feel bad sometimes. It's kind of a deeply distressing viewpoint that I hope she does not have in her real life about regular people. But Oro says, what was he trying to find? I thought he was trying to find a portal. I guess maybe not. And she says, not what, who. So is there another big bad out there? The next chapter is another Isla chapter, but I'm going to stop for the moment and go hang out with Adam for a little bit, and maybe I'll come back, maybe I won't. But just when we think things couldn't get dumber, Astor finds a way. Welcome back for more Crowntide. I just noticed the symbol, like, on the spine is kind of cool, because here the hourglass looks like an infinity symbol, symbolizing the infinite amount of power that Isla has, I'm sure. It is a stupidly cold day here in Wisconsin. It's the middle of a cold snap. I feel like I always film these in the middle of like a cold snap. Don't worry though, I got a blankie. I'll be warm. Alright. We are back with Isla, which does surprise me because I kind of thought that we were gonna just like check in with her that one time and then just like mostly focus on the boys trying to find her. So, see what she's up to, shall we? Oh, good. Wouldn't want to have seen that moment. We open on Isla and Lark had been dragged through the desert for a full day. Excuse me? Last we saw them, they were alone. Half a dozen people in gray tunics with scarves wrapped around their noses and mouths had easily overpowered them. Oh, well fuck. I'd hate to have seen that moment. That sounds like it could have been cool and exciting. Nope, skip it. You know Astor, she loves to do things off page. She loves to be like, you know what, I don't feel like writing that. That happened off page, don't worry about it. So they were captured by desert dwellers off page. Don't you worry your little head about how that went down. So things Isla had on her that they have taken away. Cronin's sword, she's got like so many super powerful relics on her. Cronin's sword, an orb full of storms, like the big scary storms that she used to defeat Lark. She still has those. Apparently they went back in the Pokeball. I didn't know that was a thing, but I guess it is. And then she also had the finger bone of one of the ancestors. Nope, the god bone, that's what it's called. The god bone. And they took her armor. They just stripped her naked. They tied her bindings to the back of a cart, which we're just finding out now that they have. I think this is incorrect. Perhaps you could correct me, but I don't think this is right. And then her and her ancestor were being launched forward. First of all, we're being launched forward is awkward as fuck, but I think it should be, and then she and her ancestor were being launched forward. I don't think it's her and her ancestor, because if you take away the ancestor, it would be, and then her was launched forward, and that's not correct. So I think it would be she and her ancestor. Just when I was going to compliment this book and say, at least it feels a little bit like maybe an editor, like a human editor, actually got eyes on this thing, because it did not seem like that was the case at all with the novellas. But now I'm wondering again if that was a thing. It does read like perhaps there was an editor, simply because those novellas fucking read like first drafts, man. It was gnarly. And this one is not quite as bad, just on a sentence level most of the time. There's still some Alex Astor sentences in here, oh boy. But like, it's not as bad. Apparently there's a sun here. I thought it was kind of more like nighttime, but there's a sun. Isla keeps her head bent forward, away from the sun that seared even through the strokes of color. Just some of the descriptions are just so difficult. Also, I'm curious. So she and her ancestors presumably spilled out of some sort of portal. Were these people who captured them like hanging around near the portal? Was it their job to guard it? Or is it just a crazy random happenstance that they were just coming through this area when Lark and Isla appeared? Because they're walking for a while, so it's not like they spilled out near a settlement. Isla concludes that this place is reduced to ruins, but we haven't seen any ruins. All we've seen is the ash sand. It's interchangeable, ash and sand here. But like, what makes her think that this place is in ruins? This could be any desert. This is a weird alien desert. She's seen weird shit like this back at Lightlark. But she feels certain in herself, because she's the main character and basically God, that this place used to be beautiful and vibrant, and there used to be forests and trees and rivers and stuff, but everything has been reduced to this ashy landscape. And she says, something happened here, someone happened to this place. That feels like a major leap. This could have been some kind of natural disaster if we feel so certain that something happened. Now we've discovered that there's a horse pulling the cart, a page in. I thought that they were pulling the cart, but there's a whole horse, which, okay. We are in a completely different world. You cannot expect your reader to assume things. You cannot expect us to go, oh, cart, therefore there must be horse, because we are on an alien planet, essentially. It's not like we walked into a kitchen and we can expect that there's probably a fridge and a microwave and a table or a chair or something. That we don't know what's here. So failing to describe it and then mentioning it later doesn't work. Does that make sense? We gotta have, like, show us the people and the cart and the horse at the same time. Also, conveniently, the people don't talk to each other, so that means Isla doesn't have to try and communicate with them. Heaven forbid she tried diplomacy. That is not her style. So she's just like, all right, fine, I'll have to figure out some other way. So Isla stumbles to the ground, and it's not clear until the end of this next paragraph that this was on purpose. Once again, we have this thing where Astor and other writers do this as well. They'll have something happen and then later tell you that it was the character's plan, instead of saying Isla threw herself to the ground. It said that she tripped and she fell. But then later, as she's being dragged by the cart, she's wondering if she made an error in strategy. So the trip and fall was on purpose, but we didn't know that. We're with her character. Yes, it's third person limited, but we're still in her head essentially with third person limited. So should not we know that this was the plan? Yes, sir. Buddy, you could have stayed sleeping happily on the couch. You do not need to come in here. You had a great thing going on the couch. So they pick Isla up and they throw her in the cart, and then of course she has stolen a dagger. We don't watch her steal the dagger. She gets thrown in the cart and then we're informed she had stolen a dagger. Why would we want to watch her actually do things in real time? That's dumb. We should find out afterward that she's done something. But she sets to freeing herself, and while she's in the cart, the tarp pulls back and there's just body parts. It's a body parts cart. And Isla's like, aha, these people are scavengers. They're out here collecting the pieces of things that have fallen into this world. But like, the access to this world on Isla's side was very difficult to get to. So why do they have like fresh-ish body parts. Did they collect these body parts at other portals? Like, is this like a hub world where a lot of portals connect to? I wonder if we're ever going to find out, or if it's just supposed to be like a horrifying thing where there's body parts. Because you know Aster, she loves to do like weird body part stuff, like the skin gloves and things like that. Every now and then she just does that.
Also, if I had a nickel for every time Aster had dead people thrown through a portal, I'd have 2 nickels, which is not a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
She does realize that the cart is made of wood and she hasn't seen any forests, so she's like, I don't know where they got this from, but that's about as deep as she thinks. Their constant surveillance, the way they kept their blades strapped to their fronts. Why would you want your blades strapped on the front of your body? That's like the least helpful place to put your blade. For some reason, she thinks that they're sand benders and we're supposed to just know that, because she's like, yeah, they keep their hands slightly raised as though they're ready to wield the sand at any moment. And I'm like, oh, I guess that's a thing that we thought. I guess the captors did not take, she's wearing her mother's charm. You remember that thing that her mother gave her that would like give her her mom's psychic powers, I'm pretty sure? She's still wearing that, and they did not take that from her for some reason. I don't know why. Isla decides that she needs Lark so that she can kill her, basically, is what she's thinking. Because she's like, I need to kill Lark, get her powers, and use them to get out of this place. So she also starts freeing Lark after she frees herself. It might be nice to have a family member that was still alive. You have a family member that's still alive. Isn't Astria your fucking cousin? I guess what she is chopped liver, because that's not a close enough relation for Isla. But even though Isla suspects that she and Lark are valuable by virtue of the fact that they're alive and not just reduced to body parts, their guards, their captors are not watching them, because she frees Lark and Lark just stops walking and the cart just keeps moving. Also, their captors put her possessions in this wagon, so she feels around in the body parts until she finds the sword. If they're going to end up in roughly the same position as they started in before they got captured, then this whole capture scene was completely pointless. She decides that she can't have a sword and a dagger at the same time. That's stupid. So she puts down the dagger and takes the sword. What happened to the girl with the dagger-filled pants? Doesn't she know that she can carry lots of weapons? Isla has gotten back all her possessions, and she's like, I need to get my armor still. And so she's just dropping her armor off the end of the wagon, where it lands soundlessly in the ash sand, and no one is noticing. And then she just rolls off the back. Her captors don't notice, they just keep going, and then she just collects up her armor. Isla finds Lark, who's just standing there waiting for her after the world's easiest escape. I guess Isla just had amazing dice rolls in this game of D&D that we're playing here. But also, Lark, still injured because she hasn't healed fully, and she's so injured that her chest is fully open and her heart is visible, but she's still like standing. So I guess not only is she a super healer, but also being like open chest, heart out doesn't really actually bother her all that much. She's not screaming and writhing in pain or anything. Oh good, they have been recaptured. Then why did we let them escape? I'm so confused why anything, but they are indeed sandbenders. And for some reason, they let the captives completely fully escape and take all of their possessions back, and then decided to use sandbending to recapture them. Why anything? Aster. I want to meet Alex Aster because I have so many questions. The foremost of which is going to be why anything. Isla is convinced, by the way, that this world belongs to Cronin. So like all of her internal questions are like, when are we going to see Cronin? Are we going to be able to fight Cronin? Do these people follow Cronin? Is Cronin giving them their power? Like she's convinced that Cronin is behind this place. What is this sentence? Did that mean they were loyal to Cronin? Were they somehow immune to this vice she felt over her like a poison? This vice she felt over her like a what does that mean, Alex Aster? What is this vice? And how is a vice like a poison? And how is the vice over her? I have so many questions. That's such an Alex Aster sentence. She's famous for those now at this point. Just like sentences that make you go, huh. So yeah, they sandbend to catch Isla and company, take her possessions away again, and tie her back to the cart. Anytime that you have your characters do something and then end up in exactly the same place as they were before they did something, they probably didn't need to do that thing in the first place. Unless that thing is doing something extremely crucial for the plot, If they are in the same place, they have made zero progress. They have found out nothing of value because we already suspected that these guys were sandbenders, and that's all we found out. They are inattentive sandbenders. We already knew these things, so like we didn't need to watch Isla meticulously escape piece by piece and then go pick up her armor and then just get captured again. We are in exactly the same place as before she got loose, and we have learned nothing. We have moved the plot 0%. So we didn't need to do that. That's a helpful rule of thumb. Isla looks up after they've been walking for ? Who knows? And she sees all of a sudden there's mountains with beautiful forests and flowery glades and just nature that she somehow didn't notice until they were right up on top of it. I guess she just had her eyes down the whole time. But it was a hallucination. Okay, that's how she didn't notice it before. Because it just appears before her eyes. So she's probably seeing memories of what used to be here before whatever happened, or whoever happened. So she hallucinates again, and it says she could practically taste the flowers. She wants to eat the flowers? I mean, you can eat flowers, but that's not the very first thing I would think of. I would think maybe smell the flowers, personally, but you know Alex Astor, she's a free thinker. Isla is certain she's not just like regular hallucinating though. She's like, yeah, I'm definitely seeing this world as it used to be. Which is probably just an Isla thing. She's probably the only one with the powers to do that, would be my guess, because it's Isla. So she thinks about Grimm, and she thinks he had given his life for her, he had started a war for her, he had been ready to turn their world to ash to save her. Now Isla is in a world where some catastrophe happened and everything literally was turned to ash. But does she stop and think about the fact that her husband was gonna do this on her behalf? No. Like, it's right there. She's so close. It does, however, make her wonder if Cronin did this for love. But she's not like, oh shoot, that would have been bad, actually, if Grimm had done that. She's just like, maybe Cronin did this for love. Like, that's, if he had, it was fine then. And she thinks about Aura when she thinks they started as enemies. And I'm like, bitch, where? Bitch, where? They were never enemies. I don't think Alex Astor knows what enemies means. Why is she thinking that she was enemies with Oro? When if either of them were an enemies to lover scenario, it was her and Grimm. I'm still wondering at this point if Astor is going to try to do some kind of throuple thing with the final book. Because you know that's in now, that whole why choose thing. I think there's a decent chance, because clearly these are not planned, so I think there's a decent chance that she's going to take the temperature of how people are feeling about thruples, just in general, and then if it's positive, she's just going to say that that Isla gets 2 boyfriends. And she has Grimm for whenever she wants it to be super sexy and super horny. And she has Oro for whenever she wants to, I don't know, drink tea in the library, I guess.
Sad for me, in a sad way, darling, it's fate.
But all of a sudden, something seems to be attacking them. The guard nearest Isla, her feet get pulled into the ground and her body was drained of all its water and blood. What did that look like? Did she just go full raisin? Yeah, she just basically goes Ark of the Covenant and falls to the ground. It's like a cousin of Moopsie. Y'all know Moopsie, of course.
The Moopsie drinks your bones!
Apparently it also must drink their bones because it says his body collapsed in a pile of folded skin a moment later. There's no bones in it apparently anymore.
Moopsie!
But I guess the creature has had its fill because the scavengers are like, whatever, and they keep going. If I was Isla, I would have at least tried to jump into the cart. Because she is tied to the back of the cart, so she could do that. The cart stopped. They were briefly attacked. Luckily, the horse didn't get its blood stolen. Also, the horse didn't seem to care. I can tell you right now that horses don't love it when there's like big dangerous predators around. But this horse, not a care in the world. And apparently still alive, because they just keep going. That's it. That's the end of the chapter. Welcome back to the very cold day and to some just bonkers shenanigans. You know what will happen next? We're back with Oro. Oh good, Cleo has just pulled some information out of her butt. These characters could do or say anything. Like any of them could just announce, I have the solution, and we just have to believe them because of the way these books are set up. Or rather, the way that these books are not set up. So Cleo's like, yeah, Horus, you remember Horus, one of Oro's ancestors, left behind a record and a map with orders that should only be used in the direst of circumstances. Don't know why Cleo knows this, doesn't probably really matter.
Also, dire circumstances do not include horrible curses being cast that resulted in millions of deaths and trapped everybody for 500 years. Dire circumstances do not include things like wars happening over and over again. Again, lots and lots of death. Dire circumstances equal main character Isla being taken somewhere else. Those are dire circumstances.
We do, however, need to take a little break from this moment for Oro to think about Isla. Like, how's she doing? Is she okay? I should be there for her. You know, just in case you forgot that he's worried about Isla. And both of these boys, every moment is consumed with thoughts of Isla. So we know that Aster loves some repetition. We saw it especially in the novellas, where pretty much every chapter involved, especially Grimm's novella, but Orwell's as well, involved some circular thing that happened over and over and over again. So in Grimm's, it was like he tried not to think about Isla, he thought about Isla, he went to go see Isla. In Orwell's, it was like, I want her to trust me, I need to earn her trust. He earns her trust, very next scene. I want her to trust me, I need to earn her trust. Just repeat, 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 repeat. Well, this time, in every single one of the chapters with the boys, we have this repetition of, I really miss Isla, and I know the other guy really misses Isla too. Just like over and over and over again. We don't need to be reminded of that every time. We remember. We do remember. I know we live in the age of TikToks and everybody has no short-term memory anymore, but like some of us still do, so please can we treat us like we're adults reading this book? Yes, I know that this book is also for teenagers, but also you don't need to treat teenagers like they're dumb. If they can't figure it out from being told in a previous chapter, then maybe, I was gonna say maybe they should try an easier book, but I don't know. It's pretty not challenging. Oh, Oro and Grimm holding hands? They're holding hands. Grimm needs to teleport them somewhere. So he takes Cleo's hand and then Oro takes Grimm's hand. So romantical. So Grimm portals them to Moon Isle Library from Cleo's ship. Could we not have skipped a step by just having them find Cleo at home? Possibly even at the library? Why did we have to go to her ship first, is what I'm saying. Seems like there's a lot of unnecessary steps in this book, and probably the only reason that it's this thick. So one of the weird qualities you'll remember about Cleo's library is that the floor is made of ice, and underneath the ice are a bunch of her relics just floating in water. So she goes over to one, and she kneels down, and she just like punches through the ice and pulls out a compass. No, he doesn't have to walk over, they were holding hands. Cleo tosses Grimm the compass, and then it says, Oro walked over as the nightshade studied the compass. They held hands to get here, and it was never mentioned that Oro left Grimm's side, so he didn't have to walk anywhere, he was already there. There's water inside the compass, but the water seems to be pulling in a certain direction, so Grimm, somehow knowing what to do, smashes the compass. He also gets glass embedded in his hand in the process, but he, of course, doesn't care because Grimm both has to suffer the most of anybody and also be like super, super toxically masculine and never show pain. So Grimm like takes a minute to feel the water between his fingers, and Oro is impressed by this. And then they all hold hands again, even though Grimm still has glass shards in his hand. They all hold hands again and he teleports them somewhere else. Sure. That all might as well happen. Literally anything could happen in these books. Literally anything. They could teleport to the Llama of Truth atop a mountain and say, oh, wise llama, what is our next step? And it would not be surprising because this world is just... This world runs on like Cat in the Hat logic. It's just whatever silly thing, it's Alice in Wonderland. It's whatever Aster comes up with next. It's like being in the imagination of a very, very ADHD 12-year-old.
You want him to do you so much you could do anything?
So they materialize on an island and immediately Cleo starts to attack them for reasons unknown. The boys easily avoid it. Oh, we find out a little bit further down that the island they're standing on is very small, so all of them barely fit on it. She splashed them with water and they dodged it, and then she's like, well done, and that's that whole sequence. Okay. I'm not even 100% sure what they're looking for here, but Grimm says that he can tell that it's under the water, and they're like, how is that possible? And I'm like, what are we looking for? Horus's prophecy? Human skin gloves? I don't know. So Cleo just casually parts the Red Sea, and they don't even have to swim. She just fully just... While, by her description, looking exactly like Elsa from Frozen 2. At least Oro is impressed, so we get to be impressed with Cleo for once instead of annoyed by her, which is everybody's constant state. So at least she gets to be cool. We can't, like, have a moment, though, where Oro doesn't think about somebody as his enemy, because he, like, looks at Cleo and he's like, she sided with Grimm during the war on Lightlark. She is my enemy, and now I must rely on her. Okay, thank you. We couldn't have figured that out on our own. So glad you told us that. So the boys go down into the crevasse of water, and they're just gonna look around while Cleo holds the sea open for them. All at once, he felt something in his blood be ripped away. Something in his blood be ripped away. Like veins being torn from skin. What is in his blood that is like veins being torn? What does that mean, Alex?
What does it mean? What does it mean?
But it causes Oro to crash into the seabed. Apparently it's really, really deep down, too. Like, he looks up and he's like, we're miles down underwater. Oro breaks a couple ribs in the fall, and Grimm is bleeding again, but both of them are too tough and badass to actually care. Injuries are cosmetic in this book. He's not letting us know whether they have their powers down here. Like, something made him fall, and made Grimm fall as well, because Grimm was floating himself down with his shadows. But he's not questioning it. He's just like, well, that happened. And now they're just investigating. And I'm like, do you have your powers? Do you not? What happened? But then a horrible scream rends the air, and Oro and Grimm run over a little underwater hill, which is no longer underwater, and they find that there's just a whole bunch of people and animals tethered to the seafloor down here. Okay. Once again, say it with me, that might as well happen. They are all alive. They seem to be trapped in some sort of waking, dying, because they keep like dying and then reviving, dying and then reviving. And it ends by saying it was an ancient prison. So, I mean, that's a very mean prison where it's like you get to drown for eternity. And there are animals down here, so somebody decided that cow, fuck that cow. I'm chaining him to the seafloor where he can drown for eternity. This is so fucking bonkers, you guys. I have no idea where this is gonna go. Like, nothing. Zero clues as to what could happen next because, as we mentioned, Aster is just pulling shit out of her ass. It's, like I said, it's Alice in Wonderland rules here. But that was the end of that chapter, so. I'm gonna do one more chapter tonight. Hopefully it's not getting too dark. My camera's further away than it used to be, and I can't easily reach it to adjust my lens because Nigel's on my lap. We're back with Isla. I mean, I will say one thing. These chapters are so ridiculously bonkers that I'm a little bit disappointed every time we leave. I was disappointed to be back with the boys until we found out what bonkers thing they were doing, and now I'm disappointed to be back with Isla because I'm like, what the fuck is happening with the guys? So, at least this book is keeping me gripped, because I have no idea what bonkers thing is gonna happen next. This book is like a really, really psychedelic drug trip. So even though several of them just had all of their juices drained and got turned into people raisins and left in the desert, the scavengers for some reason still don't have enough water, and they decide to give the last of the water to the horse, which means that they clearly did not plan to be out this far. So I have even more questions for them. And again, now Isla has seen them talking to each other, but she has, as always, made no attempt. Because everybody knows that some people in these books are just NPCs and there's no point in talking to them. Probably if she tried, they don't even have, any dialogue options. But one of them apparently decided that the cart is too heavy, so he's just yeeting body parts out into the sand. And then now, for some reason, they're being shot by arrows. Sure, everybody's being shot by arrows now. But of course Isla will not be. There's only 2 scavengers left. One of them sandbends to kill the archer, but now there are 6 people cresting a dune with their weapons raised. But they are quickly dispatched by the sandbenders. They're all just killed immediately. And conveniently, they find water on the attackers, and they even give some to Isla. And once again, I am asking, why did we have that sequence? Why did we have to have them be attacked in order to get water? Couldn't the scavengers have just had water on them? If this was a different book, I would take that as a clue for us to indicate that these scavengers don't belong here, they're farther away from home than they should be, they weren't prepared. But This is not the sort of book that has clues like that. But as her captor like gives her some water, Isla notices something, and I don't know what this is supposed to look like. A shard of glittering silver, not shade-made metal, no, almost like a piece of a storm. What does a piece of a storm look like? Fuck if I know. And then they just keep moving. That's it. That's the whole sequence. I guess the only thing we got out of it is that now there are only 2 scavengers left. So maybe something will take out the last 2 and then Isla can get away. Once again, through no effort of her own. Isla wonders about this world again, and she's like, clearly people live here, but where and how? And she has people right here that she could try to ask, but she will not. Okay, Isla thinks for a little while longer about her options, and she finally, after presumably almost a day of walking in the desert and seeing a bunch of stuff happen and escaping once and blah blah blah, she finally decides to talk to the NPCs. Of course, the NPCs don't answer her first few questions, and Lark makes fun of Isla about asking questions. So Isla thinks, Lark has answers to all of my questions, I'm pretty sure, but I know she won't answer, so I'm not gonna bother asking. Good. Great. I love that. It's such a flimsy excuse for your character not to be given any answers. Well, I know she won't tell me, so I'm just not gonna try. And then it just starts to rain. And it's raining now, so they have another source of water. I wonder even more why we had the attack sequence. Was it crucial that we know that those other bandits exist? Are they gonna come up a lot? Could we have found out about them some other way? I don't know. But apparently the rain is a bad thing, because the scavengers, all 2 of them, just bolt. So it didn't matter that there were only 2 of them. So we didn't need that sequence with the arrows to reduce the number of them back down to 2 for any reason. They just run off. Fully abandon their horse and their cart and their stuff. Whatever it is, they couldn't even be bothered to cut the horse free and let it run. No, the horse, I guess, gets to die. Our horse is not valuable in this universe. But the rain gives her powers back, I guess. Because again, that might as well happen. So she's basically free and has her powers back. Say it with me, through no effort of her own. She just waited around until circumstances happened that allowed her to have her powers back. But it also gives Lark her powers back, and she finally heals herself and turns to Isla, and with intent in her eyes. Okay, I guess we're thinking with portals, because Lark opens another portal above their heads and then like brings it down on both of them, or just Isla, unclear. But that's the end of the chapter. So are we going to another world? Are we just going to be world hopping? I mean, that does totally allow for Aster to make up bullshit even more than she already does, because she could make up whatever bullshit she wants. But like, we spent time in this desert and it felt so pointless. But maybe we're not going to another place. I don't know. We'll find out in that chapter, but that's it for me for right now, I think. All right, everybody. Different location, and also, everybody look at your screens. If you're listening to this in your pocket, I need you to look at your screens to see Adam's beard situation right now.
I got a date with my beardtician last week.
Look at it. It's channeling K-pop Demon Hunters.
A little bit.
Anyway, thank you, Adam, for your
You're
participation.
welcome.
I just wanted everyone to see that. Majestic. All right, we are in a new spot. We're in a new spot because I have a fire going today because it is super cold. Hang on. So we have a temperature of, it just went up a degree, negative 16 degrees Fahrenheit with a feels like temperature of negative 38. So I lit a fire in our fireplace. And I'm gonna stay here because A, it's warm, and B, this lets me monitor the fire. So, because I'm the fire witch in the household. I light the fires, I maintain the fires. It's what I do, all right? But we are here to read more of this book. The book that said, I see your internal logic, your external logic, your logic of any kind, and I throw it out the window where it is hit by a truck. Let's continue. One thing that this book is not is boring. Grab the bingo card. Just in case, let's see, what do we got? Isla hasn't got more powers yet, waiting for it. Other rulers don't matter. I mean, Cleo's here, but I think we won't give it to it unless some other people, like, we still have, who do we still have? We have whoever's running the Wildlings right now, whoever's running the Starlings right now, and Azul, our other leaders, because we keep killing people off, quite frankly. Oh, definitely awkward writing, which was the middle square. I mean, obviously. Can we give it retcon? I feel like some things have been retconned, but I can't, like, put my finger on exactly what yet, but I think we'll probably be able to safely give it retcon. I think we're very close to even more prophecies. I think wherever they're going, wherever the boys are going, whatever they're getting, they're going to be another prophecy involved.
Oh, you're right. And when you're right, you're right. And you're always right.
And I think we also have new MacGuffin, because the guys are already on the hunt for a new MacGuffin. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's a map, but maybe the compass was the map, but maybe the compass was guiding them to the map. Anyway, it's very silly, and all just an excuse for them to wander around and for Aster to just pull different things out of her ass for them to find and experience. Like I said, this book is basically a fever dream. We're back with Grimm finally. We were with Oro a lot, and I was curious why he was like the boy of choice, but then I'm like, probably because most of Grimm would be taken up with horniness and being ridiculously emo, so let's see if that's true. Grimm, of course, is once again a reprehensible person. So you remember that they found this underwater prison, and some of the people are now able to not be drowning. People and animals are able to not be drowning, and they're screaming, and Grimm just like wishes they would shut the fuck up. He's like upset that they are being tortured. He's like, can you please make the fact that you've been tortured for centuries not my problem? He thinks he himself had been in prison long enough to recognize the shackles very well. Yeah, you were imprisoned in Oro's dungeon of your own volition. You put yourself there, you idiot. It's like, I'm not even making that up. That's not subtext, that is text. Grimm could have released himself at any point. He chose not to. In fact, he put himself back in prison. So like, Grimm, I'm sorry, you don't get, oh, I was in prison. You don't get I was in prison points. Because you did that to yourself. We have a quick memory about how he'd been thrown in prison. Again, this is from the novellas. We know that he wasn't thrown in prison. As part of a treaty, which we never got to actually see the terms of the treaty. We were just told about it, that it happened. And then Oro had come to visit him. There's a lot of moments in this where I can tell that she's really hoping that you read the novellas. Because like she's explaining them, but if I hadn't read the novellas, it would feel like, oh, okay, I guess that happened. It would feel like even more retcons. And you have to understand, if you're gonna write like optional novellas, that you cannot rely on them to then be crucial to your next book. And they are kind of important to understand the Grimm-Oro relationship. That's the only thing that you really need to get from the novellas, honestly. Except for you do get more of Oro hanging out with his friends, which was kind of nice. The boys decide that whatever these people did to get here, it was clearly awful. And I'm like, there are animals down here. It said that there were animals down here. What did the animals do? But the people all look kind of like zombies. I'm picturing them like Pirates of the Caribbean.
We are not among the living, so we cannot die.
Some of these people and these beasts still know, we don't know what the beasts are, we just know that there are some. We're clearly not of their world. Would you like to explain how you know that, Grimm? Okay, so the cuffs are made of Shade Maid, and Grimm is like, that's why our powers weren't working. And I'm like, okay, that explains it, good, but you guys lost your powers and tumbled to the, ocean floor, and neither of you went, what the fuck happened? You just accepted it and carried on. I guess they have their powers nerfed so often by random null magic states that they're just like, oh, that's another one. Once again, we have this problem with Aster where she has given her characters way too much power and she has to keep finding ways to take it away from them. We find out now that the man they're looking at the closest has fangs. The fanged man, as though we were supposed to already know that he had fangs. Grimm pulls out a sword. I think he intends to just slay his way through these prisoners, which is a admittedly very grim thing to do. He's just like, well, how do I solve this problem? I either need to get stabbed or I need to stab somebody else. Those are Grimm's two options for problem solving. But he's like, hey, Oro, do you have a sword? And Oro's like, I didn't bring my sword. And Grimm is like, what a pussy. With a long-suffering sigh, he threw Oro a dagger from his pocket. Nobody believes in sheaths in this world. Everybody's just fully carrying daggers around in their pockets. Does Alex Aster not know what a sheath is? I feel like she must not watch or read any fantasy, or if she does, it's all like the super modern fantasy that like also written by people who don't know what sheaths are. Like, girly, read some slightly older fantasy. Doesn't even need to be that old. You don't need to go Lord of the Rings. Just read something where the author bothered to find out like minor facts about weapons. Grimm is just going out of his way. I think because the author doesn't really know what to do with Grimm. Every single thing that Oro does, Grimm has to comment on how Oro is a stupid baby man. So like, oh, Oro hurt himself. What a wuss. Oh, Oro didn't bring his sword. Psh, how unmanly. Like, just, it's a constant stream of that, and it's really absolutely obnoxious. And again, I wonder why we're supposed to like Grimm. Yeah, so their solution to finding all these prisoners at the bottom of the ocean is to just cut a path through them. No attempt is made whatsoever to communicate with any of them. They see one guy who seems to be pretty much out of his mind and like screaming and trying to attack them. And so they just cut them all down. Might as well be grass. Like, why did they even find these people down here? Oro kills one and then moves on to the next, which is covered in scales like a snake and has eyes as red as rubies. How do we know that that person isn't from here? Is anybody who looks like a weird animal-human hybrid automatically from a different universe? And if so, why? Why aren't those creatures from here? Like, the lore is so ridiculously muddled that we have no idea why anything. Grimm is such a... Is it yandere or tsundere? The one that's like always angry and aggressive. Whichever one that is. I can't remember because I don't watch enough anime. But he's watching Oro just do all the work. And then Oro gets briefly endangered and Grimm is like, oh, fine. And he like saves him and is mad about it. Yep, this is Grimm in a nutshell. And again, I don't know why we like him. And he smiled, because he might have felt kind of bad about killing people before, after meeting Isla, but if these prisoners were standing in the way of him getting his wife back, well, they were fair game then. First of all, clunky-ass sentences, but also, alright, so really, like, this could be a path covered in little innocent kittens, but if they were in the way of Grimm getting to Isla, those kittens are getting slaughtered. It's convenient for him that these are scary monster creatures down here that were imprisoned. I love how they both assume that because they were imprisoned, they must have been bad. False imprisonment, not an idea that we're entertaining, which again, to me, fits with what I have seen. A picture I am forming in my mind about how Aster views the world from her books. Now, like I've said a million times, we cannot assume things about the authors simply because of the fiction that they write in their books, but certain patterns can emerge. I'm hoping the patterns that you see from me are fairly positive ones in my writing, but like Aster's patterns concern me. Like the idea that the peasantry is just a faceless mob. We have an endless supply of soldiers, we never need to worry about that. Nobody has names, faces, families, or children. All the poor really need to be cheered up is to go to a rich person party where they get to probably serve the rich people, but just being around the happy rich people will certainly make the poor feel happy. And of course, if people are imprisoned, they must have done something bad. Oh my god, this writing is just so juvenile. This is such a little kid writing. Yes, he was good at killing. It was too bad he had developed somewhat of a conscience recently. Yet he says as he's slicing through the enemies. Oh, this is the action scene, by the way. Blood spattered, bones broke, rotted organs and scattered limbs turned the sand scarlet. That's the action scene, but we're not surprised because Aster doesn't like to write action scenes. The only thing she likes to write are snappy lines about a man simping over a woman that would look really good in a TikTok or reel. For a minute, oh, Grimm is just so insufferable. I don't know what she's doing with him in this book. Why is she making him this insufferable? Wasn't he supposed to have gotten a softer side thanks to Isla? But he's like, maybe we're doing these people a mercy by killing them because they've been trapped down here for a while. And then he's like, and man, I hate that idea because I don't want to ever be doing anything kind for anyone, even accidentally. And I'm like, oh my god, what is wrong with you? Isla, run away from this man. Even though these people down here are all like bedraggled and corpse-like and everything, they have blood that sprays. So it says they battle prisoners for hours. Cleo's just up there holding the entire ocean open for them for hours. What a badass, honestly. Our queen. I hope you all like crackling fire noises, because that's what you get as a background. My apologies to anyone who hates crackling fire noises. So the guys are having a conversation while they fight, and of course, the conversation is about love and thus about Isla, because we would hate for them to talk about anything else. Like, they have a lot of shared history, but you know the only part that matters is they're both in love with Isla. This is a really boring conversation. They're just killing bad guys and talking about Isla and their relationship with Isla. They could talk about anything, but Aster doesn't know how to write about anything except Isla. We do find out, though, because he thinks about giving Isla the necklace, that it's an amplifier. So it can amplify powers that already exist. So Isla, being the strongest already, is only going to get stronger thanks to the necklace. He's worried that because he gave Isla the very, very special diamond, that she has... Again, they're convinced that she's gone to wherever Cronin is, that Cronin is still alive there, and he will want the necklace from her. Grimm does finally bring up the point that, like, we needed brought up in the novellas, that Oro accused Grimm of starting the curses, and then even though he could read whether Grimm was telling the truth or lying, still thought that Grimm was the cause of the curses. And finally he's being like, that was a dick move, bro. I hope we get an answer as to why, because we were in Oro's head and I still don't know why. We're not finding out why. I'm so mad. Like, Oro, why? Oro's just like, it was a good thing that I decided you were an enemy, because you were a real dick after that. There are not enough crazy hand gestures to express my frustration with this plot point. Why, Oro? We were in your head in the novella and we don't know why you still just decided that Grimm was bad. And then they just move on from that topic and go back to talking about Isla. We still don't know. We still don't know why Oro, in that moment, with the ability to read truth, decided that Grimm was still lying, and then later, when he knew Grimm hadn't been lying, still blamed him. I don't think Aster knows. Oh my god. The ship is still shipping, though, even though these guys cannot stop talking about Isla. His gaze locked onto his for just a moment, and it was full of intensity. I mean, the next line he says is about Isla, but we can pretend the intensity is because of boy love. Characters in battles do a lot of shooting forward. One of the favorite lines of Aster's is, so-and-so shot forward. That's what they do to go into a fight. They shoot forward. It's very anime. They just go, pew! We do have a moment where Oro says that he loves Isla enough that if she chose Grimm, he would like have to get over that because he loves her that much. So I think we're priming for Isla eventually choosing Grimm. That or Oro just dies. That could happen too. I could see that happening. So Grimm says, you love the wildling part of her, the creation, the goodness. You resent that she's a nightshade. You flinch at her darkness. I love all of her. I don't recoil at her mistakes, unlike you. I don't think we've ever seen Oro dislike anything that Isla does either. You know? He's a little disappointed when she kills a bunch of people. Is he supposed to embrace that part? I mean, Grimm totally has. Grimm's like, I love that my wife can murder innocents at a, moment's notice. I guess Oro's supposed to like that too? Like, I understand the desire for your, significant other to embrace all the sides of you, but if one side of you is mass murderer, maybe that we don't need to embrace that side. Maybe we don't. Maybe we can leave that side in therapy or something. They're still talking about her. Oh my god, how long is this chapter? Like 2 more pages of them just talking about Isla. I don't care. I don't care about Isla. So Oro brings up that Grimm would probably not make a very good father, which we all know is like the one place to really, really hurt Grimm, because for some reason that we don't understand, except for that's just what guys are supposed to want, he really wants to be a dad someday. The reasoning, again, is not explored because the parenting that he wants to do doesn't exist in his culture. And it's not like, oh, maybe he was watching the peasants and saw how they cared for their children and he wanted that. No, like he's just decided that he wants to be a dad and he wants to be a dad with Isla. And that's like his whole personality, aside from I love Isla very, very much, is I want to be a dad. I want to make babies with this woman. Oro throwing out that jab, Grimm is like done. That is the most painful, awful thing that Oro could have possibly said to him. So the boys are gonna fight again. They launched at each other. They just pew all the time. But then the water around them like ripples and they're like, oh yeah, we should stop fighting like schoolyard children and actually do the mission we came here for. I think the reason that the prisoners are down here is so that there's shade made down here so the boys don't have their powers. Because, like, if they had their powers, they could escape if the ocean came crashing back down. But, like, couldn't there just be shade made down here? Did we need to have them cutting through enemies the whole time? Like, why? I don't trust Aster to ever do setup and payoff. Anyone else would be a guarantee. You set up the fact that there are just prisoners under the ocean. That's a major plot point. Here, it just could be another piece of set dressing that's thrown in because she wanted there a reason to be shade made at the bottom of the ocean. Honestly, it could have been anything. There could have been spaceships down here that are made of shade made, and I would have been like, okay. Grimm thinks they're getting closer to where I guess they're seeking the king. I guess not the map anymore, they're just seeking the king, the ancient king who has the answers or something. And they think he's down here. And they see a beast with scales, and Grimm's like, we're getting to the weirder creatures now, even though we already described one of the prisoners as being a beast with scales, so it seems like it's the same. But now they're getting weirder. But this beast with scales is sitting on top of a pile of skulls because he has like eaten the heads or the flesh off of the heads of all of the other prisoners around him. So they realize it's a scorpion only when it like arches its tail to strike at them. So did they not know what a scorpion looks like otherwise? They just called it a scaled creature sitting on top of a pile of skulls. I was picturing dragon-like, because when I hear scaled creature, that's usually what I think of. I don't think scales and scorpion, but whatever, I guess bugs could be considered scaly. But like I said, it wasn't until they saw the tail striking at them that they realized it was a scorpion. The one thing that makes up a scorpion is the poison tail. No other features can identify it as a scorpion. It also has teeth. It opens its mouth and reveals rows upon rows of teeth. I don't think scorpions normally have those. I could be wrong. This scorpion, though, is a magic monster. It also has like a frog tongue that it shoots out to grab them as well. Grimm pulls his sword out to cut it in half, and the tongue, it says dodges around the sword and then grabs Grimm. I don't know how that works, but it does. Don't ask questions. Grimm is momentarily held prisoner by the scorpion. It's pulling him in with its tongue and it's gonna stab him, but of course Oro leaps in and saves him. Did we expect anything else? Aster loves a monster without eyes, though. That's something that she has leaned on in a couple of stories, is a monster with no eyes. So he cuts the scorpion's tail, but it's still chasing them, and its chain is longer than all the other chains, but it doesn't seem to have eyes, so it's having to like track them by, I don't know, smell. But of course they get away from the scorpion, and they're both laying there in the sand, you know, all disheveled and panting, and they have a moment like the lesson of this chapter is that they'd saved each other numerous times during this, and that was good. Like, they have to work together. Teamwork makes the dream work. But then they look up. Alone in the distance was the Lost King. So the scorpion brought them right to the Lost King's feet. We expected no different. We're back, we're still by the fireplace. I have half an hour to get through this chapter, which should be easy because it's like 3 pages long, but you know how I can ramble, so let's go. We're back with Isla, finding out what happens there. So it seems that basically Lark threw a forest at Isla. It says the forest that Lark had sent at her roared. The forest roared as she shaped the trees into 1,000 daggers and threw them back at Lark. So I don't know where the forest came from or how you throw a forest, but Lark did it, and Isla was like, turnabout is fair play, and threw the forest back at Lark. All of the sharpened trees, of course, impale Lark, and Isla thinks for a moment, yeah, I got her, but that doesn't work. She's Wolverine. Then she shot forward. That's how characters enter battle in Aster's world. Now they're just fully doing full-on, in-the-air anime battle. Just, you know what it looks like. Picture that, that's what's happening. But then a bolt of lightning comes down and strikes right between them as they are clashing in the sky. And Isla gets thrown back. So does Lark, but we're with Isla. At some point, Isla put her armor back on, unclear when. Maybe it puts itself on like Iron Man. Isla looks up and the sky is just full of portals now that she thinks maybe she caused. Unclear. Creatures just come raining out of the sky portals. That's unfortunate. Like, just imagine you're like a critter. Just vibing, whatever you are. Maybe you're a giant scorpion. Maybe you're some other animal with scales and no eyes. And you're just hanging out, minding your business. And then all of a sudden a portal opens up and you're falling out of the sky onto these two ladies fighting each other. Oh, but even worse, they're not just falling out of the sky, they're getting mangled in the process. So just like the bodies on the cart was just parts, they're getting shredded as they come through the portals. So body parts are falling on Isla and Lark, actually. Sure, that might as well happen. Okay, this might as well happen. Suddenly the rain starts turning into animals. winged beasts formed from the storm itself, and then it said it was there from her back, she's laying on her back, that she saw the first night land. Night, as in Knight. Okay, just what is happening? And what? This is so bonkers. I have to keep stopping every few minutes because a new bonkers thing happens. I can't just read the chapter. Just thing after thing after thing. None of it makes any logical sense. What the hell just happened? He lands like fucking Thor, like in a beam of light. So I'm gonna picture him looking like Thor. She saw his armor seemed shaped into his very skin. Skin armor. What is your obsession with skin, Aster? I don't understand. This is something I feel like you need to unpack in therapy. So he's Thor, but his armor is made of skin. From his skin. His armor and his skin are the same. He's also got a really cool sword. It's made of storms or some bullshit. Marrow! We have Marrow! Isla feels her marrow being called toward the scary man. Where's Marrow? Oh, okay. We crossed off another one. We got Puddle, Marrow, and Legion all used within the first 61 pages. So we've crossed that one off. A bunch more knights start landing. Sure, that might as well happen. She says, this was not random. Whoever these knights were, they guarded this world. Bitch, how do you know that? All right, I'm also crossing off Isla is always right, and I think that gives us our first bingo. Oh, not quite. We're very close. If Isla gets more powers, we have our first bingo. Because how in the fuck would she know that? Because she's the author. That's how she knows that. Isla is the author. We're not even pretending that this isn't a wish fulfillment self-insert anymore. And now I guess she gotta fight it. So it raises its sword, she raises her sword, they're gonna fight. Where's Lark? We don't know, we don't care. They decide to do a beam attack against each other. So like any of those movies where two characters shoot like a beam of energy at each other and it meets in the middle, that's what they do. Now she's just fighting these random knights who are conveniently coming at her one at a time. That's nice of them. But she's being an absolute badass and just fighting them all off as though she's mastered all of these powers, even though she spends most of every book she's in trying not to use her powers. But the knights are still winning, and it says she felt the energy coursing off her and looked down to see her very aura being stripped, deep red lifting off her skin. How can she see her aura being stripped? Grimm can see auras, but Isla was never able to do that. But now she can see her own aura being stripped away. Sure, that might as well happen. She's pretty sure that the knight is now taking her soul, a la the Dementors from Harry Potter. Oh, new title for Romantasy, A Mess of Wings and Teeth. A massive tooth skewered the place right beside her. What is that? The place right beside her. That is some of the worst. This is some of the worst writing I have seen. And I read a lot of writing by some very novice authors who maybe it's their first time, and 99% of them are better than this. This woman has written multiple books. She's published multiple books. And this is still the level of writing that she's at. Oh my God. This is embarrassing for me, for all writers, for indie authors who are putting in the work and getting like no returns out of it. And this woman is writing like this and getting so much money. This is just proof, again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, this is proof for anybody who thinks that traditional publishing is some kind of wise gatekeeping that keeps quality in books, that makes sure only the best writing and best stories are being published. Excuse me? Let me just read it for you again. A massive tooth skewered the place right beside her. We finally check in with Lark. She's also fighting knights a little ways off. But Isla sees that Lark is also losing and getting her soul sucked out, and Isla's like, no, you can't suck out her soul. I need to be the one to personally kill her, for reasons I can't remember. There's probably some reason from the previous book that I'm supposed to remember, but I do not, because there's so much. There's too much. The reader can't be expected to remember every stupid thing you come up with, Aster. But as she's having her soul sucked out, she looks up into the sky and she sees one of the portals up there is smaller than the rest and like looking through a keyhole, she says, which is not a bad mental image. There are so few and far between in this book. For some reason, because Isla's always right, as we established, we wrote that on our bingo card, she senses that that portal will not take her to another world. It will take her somewhere else in this world. And so she's like, that one probably won't rip me to shreds, is her logic there. So Isla just believes in herself really hard and breaks free, you know, super easy, barely an inconvenience, and heads for the port. Well, she shot forward, of course, that's important. She shot forward to wherever Lark is. Apparently that was forward. And she grabs Lark and then takes them off to the portal. She uses her skyling powers to morph her armor so that it, like, makes Lark be attached to her, and all I can picture is one of those, like, baby carriers that you wear on your chest, and Lark is just, like, strapped there like a baby. So then we just have the scene from the first Avengers movie, or the second Avengers movie? No, it's the first Avengers movie, right? Where Stark is carrying the, like, bomb up into the sky, except for it's Isla, and she's being chased by weird knights. And she has her ancestor strapped to her instead of a bomb. But of course they reach the portal and they crash to the ground on the other side. Of course she was right about the portal. It took them to another part of this world, and so she didn't get shredded. And now there are trees all around her. Forests and deserts are the only two biomes that Aster really cares about. So apparently there's magic forest, and she can sense it, like, checking her out, I guess. What a weird thing to think. It's not raining here, so she doesn't have powers again. She tried to reach for it, but without a storm, she couldn't. Somehow Cronin must have put a sheen on this entire planet. What the fuck does that mean? We have never used the term sheen to represent a null magic field ever before. But now we're supposed to understand what that means, and also understand that he must have put it around the entire planet. And then she hears a voice and she looks around, and there's another version of her standing there. So is she gonna have to do a Shadow Link fight next? That might as well happen. Again, say it with me, everyone. That might as well happen. That is the mantra of this book. And that is the end of that chapter, and now I have to go make lunch. But I might come back after lunch and film some more, we'll see. And we're back. I have now had lunch. It was soup, because today is the sort of day that requires soup. It's cold. My brain reverts me back to the mind state of the English peasant from which I am descended. Yes, or Irish peasant, really. But let's go. We're back with Grim. Oh joy. Our favorite character whose head to be in. The one who hates everyone and wishes they would all die. What fun!
I have cause. It is because I hate him.
So as you recall, Grim and Oro have found the Lost King, because why not? He's down there, and he's chained up. I forget what he's the Lost King of. He's just the Lost King. And I guess he's gonna have some kind of answers for them, how to get their girlfriend/goddess back. So he is intact. He has not rotted away. He's just sitting there on his throne, but I guess he's also blind or something. His eyes are just, like, glassed over, and he's just kind of staring into space. Does Alex Aster have some, like, fear of going blind? Is that something that she's afraid of? Because, like, her monsters all have no eyes, and now this guy is maybe blind. What's going on? Grim is like, the very first thing we have to do is hold a dagger to this guy's throat, because that's how you say hello in Grim's world. So he does that. This is such a D&D session. I almost wonder if Aster got some people together and was like, let's role play in my world. Rules are you have to be obsessed with Isla, so everything has to come back to her, but otherwise you can do whatever you want. And, like, this is such a D&D player reaction. Like, I immediately go up to the dead king and hold a knife to his throat, see what happens. It does work for some reason, and it turns out that he's not blind. His eyes were just rolled up into the back of his head, so that was weird, an odd choice. Why not have his eyes be closed? Why have that? Don't know. So many questions, never any answers. He is not surprised to see them. He's actually looking a little bit disappointed, and he's like, it is time then? Also, we don't know what this king is wearing. We know that he's the Lost King, and he's sitting on a throne of some kind, undescribed. And we know what his eyes are doing. But, like, he gets up from the throne. He's like, the prophecy is fulfilled. The three kings are reunited. Oro and Grim are clueless about this. But he stands up, and I'm like, I'm picturing, like, water, like, dripping off of him, because he was previously underwater. But then that made me realize we don't know what the hell he's wearing. So now I can only assume that he's naked. Like, if you never tell me what your characters are wearing, I am going to picture them naked. Is that what you want? Maybe you do. I don't know. The king says, I know who you are. I've seen everything. And Grim's like, well, how the hell could he do that? And I'm like, sir, there's magic in your world for literally everything. Why are you surprised? Luckily, this makes it so they don't have to explain anything to the king, because he already was expecting them. Probably there was another dumb prophecy involved. And he already knows what they're here for. He's like, you're trying to save her. And they're like, oh, great, perfect. We don't have to explain anything. So the Lost King is like, I'm not 100% sure I want to help you because the future is still split down 2 paths, just like Isla. He knows Isla, and he's like, just like Isla's twin nature that we keep trying to hit. That's the only theme that Alex Astor remembers and wants to hit on anymore, is that Isla is both light and dark. He's like, because of her twin nature, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, so I don't know if we want to get her back. But then he's alluding to some other enemy. He could still win, which I assume is Cronin, because we've now decided that Cronin is the final boss of this book, or something. It's so confusing.
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Aside from that might as well happen, my other catchphrase for this book is, it's so confusing. I'm not sure though 100% because everybody's so positive that it's Cronin that I'm waiting to find out that Astor pulls a different dude out of her sleeve as the big bad for this episode, season, whatever's happening here. For some reason we get a recap that we don't need, including information like that Grimm has portaling abilities. That's the thing that I feel like we did not need to be reminded of. There's lots of things that we could stand to be reminded of, but one of Grimm's like principal powers that he uses all the time, we didn't need to be reminded of, actually. I don't know why they think Cronin is like so powerful and so evil. Cause Grimm is like, Isla might have to face Cronin alone, and he literally goes down, like his knees buckle at the thought of that. I don't know jack shit about Cronin except for that he was like locked in the middle of the maze and escaped via portal to another world. Why are we so certain that he is so powerful and so evil? Oh, romance though. Romance still possible between Grimm and Oro because Grimm is just like melting down at this thought and Oro's like holding him up. It's so romantic. So Grimm for some reason asks the Lost King why Cronin is seeking Isla. He thinks it's Cronin. The Lost King actually hasn't said the name Cronin. We'll go with the hypothesis that it is Cronin. He says, why is Cronin seeking Isla? Even though he was just thinking, we're in his head, and he was just thinking about how Cronin really wants the special diamond that Isla has. So why is he asking if he already thinks he knows? But then the Lost King says, she has his world key. Smash 2 more nouns together. I'm just gonna read you his explanation because like trying to summarize it, I would make no sense because it doesn't make sense. Cronin has spent a millennia tearing apart galaxies looking for a single place. Only this world stands between him and what he wants. He was banished from here long ago. Isla is his key back. Those are certainly a lot of words arranged into sentences. I have so many questions, but I'm just gonna keep reading. I guess he can use her to get back in because, as we previously established, she's the most powerful person in their universe and she has the most powerful item in her universe. And that combo, deadly combo, Cronin can use that. Oh, we have another MacGuffin, everyone. The king says, in this world exists one last key, fated to unlock the entire universe, including the world he seeks. With it, he could conquer every galaxy. Ooh, we're going sci-fi. Join them? He just says join them. That's a whole sentence. Who is joining whomst? I don't know. Control any and all power that flows through them. Again, full sentence. Not sure who's doing what. If that's an order for Grimm, if that's what the evil Cronin wants to do. Apparently, though, to activate the special diamond that Isla has, it requires love. Love is required to use that relic, so Cronin struggled with that one. And when he tried to fake love, the diamond knew that he was faking it and banished him from this world. This lore is so confusing. I am convinced that Astor got high and then just wrote. Okay, I don't know why, but this is a thing. You know, there's all these portals now and different worlds, and it's a multiverse now. And Cronin was banished to another world. Like when he got banished from Lightlark, he tried to create his own world, but it was twisted and wrong because he's a bad man. And the king is like, you've been there, Oro. And Oro's like, what? No, I haven't. And he says, that was where Lightlark, the island, went between centennials. Okay. Between centennials, Lightlark, the island, was completely cut off from everywhere else by this, like, storm. But it turns out it wasn't there. It was transported to another dimension. That might as well happen. So the other thing we're learning is that the people who inhabit the other world are the people who died to the curses in our world. And I guess maybe Cleo's son would qualify. But what happens if they die in that world? Because Isla saw several people die in the world that she's in right now, which is presumably Cronin's twisted world. What do those people, are those people just dead now? Oh, good. Grimm is saving us from having to find out more stupid lore because the king says, I've lived 1,000 lives, and Grimm thinks Grimm didn't know what he meant, and he truly did not care. It would have been stupid anyway if we got it explained. Yes, buddy? I'm over here right now. Yeah, I'm over here today. That's weird, huh? So I guess we're not gonna have to seek the final key relic because the Lost King has it. And he pulls it out, and it's just like a bunch of golden thread, and he says it's the threads of time. Of course, the threads of time. Obviously, the well-alluded to and thought out relic, the threads of time. But I guess we're doing time travel now. I guess this guy has seen like many cycles of this exact thing play out, and with Isla, or someone exactly like Isla, I don't know, but in like 50% of them she turns evil and 50% of them she stays good. So like this is the tipping point, I guess, this cycle. Like, say it with me again, that might as well happen. Oro finally decides to talk, and he asks the Lost King who he is, and the king just says that he's from another world. Grimm reached for the threads at the same time Oro did, and has both their fingers locked around them.
Alright, gay.
But when they both romantically grab the threads at the same time, the Lost King just disappears. His plot point has been fulfilled. And on cue, Cleo starts to struggle with holding the ocean up, so the guys are like, we need to go. Neither of the boys wants to let go of the thread, though, so in my mind, they're holding hands. Grimm's still being absolutely toxic. I do trust that you love her, Grimm said, but I also know that you love your people, your friends. I would choose her over the world. Can you say the same? Grimm fully admits that the only reason he hasn't destroyed the world for her is because she'd be annoyed at him if he did. Man just desperately wants an excuse to kill everybody. They decide to use the Lost King's chains as a weapon, so they use teamwork to take out any enemies on the way back with the chain. And conveniently, apparently we're supposed to know this was here all along, but we did not. There are stairs going up to the island that Cleo is on, so that they don't have to use their powers to fly up. Thank goodness, although they brought the chains with them, and the chains are made of Shade Maid, and that seems like a mistake, because maybe if they got far enough from the Shade Maid, they could just use their powers to get out of here, but, no. Aster sure does like things like bone melting to describe emotions with mind melting relief. For some reason, whenever Aster describes relief, she describes it as melting, and I'm kind of concerned. The guys climb high enough, there's a lot of almost falling and blah blah blah. They climb high enough to get their powers back. There is some necessary like, give me your hand, clasping of hands, hauling each other up, that sort of thing. So yeah, they get back to the top. Cleo's there. She's all exhausted from holding the ocean at bay for them as they took several hours doing whatever the fuck. And that's the end of the chapter. Now I need to go get some firewood.